All right, so what we're going to do for a few problems is we are going to state the excluded values. I'll tell you what that means in a second. That's the first thing we're going to do. And then the second thing we're going to do is simplify the expression. Okay, so in a fraction, what do you think I mean by excluded values? There's something that's kind of a big no-no when you're dealing with a fraction. What can we not divide by? 0. Okay, so what's going to happen when I say state the excluded values is they're just the things that make the fraction undefined. Okay, so the first example we're going to do is not going to involve any factoring, because some of them are going to. What if I gave you something such as 70v to the third over 100v? Okay, so we're going to simplify in a minute to the right, but let's just answer the question below. The excluded values would be what would make, or what would I put into the variable that would make the denominator 0? What's the only thing that would make the denominator 0 if v were 0? Okay, so the excluded value in here is when v equals 0. So that would make the fraction undefined. Okay, now let's move to the second part. How would I simplify the expression? So in this case, we would want to reduce the fraction, both the part with the v and the part with the 70 and the 100. What goes into both 70 and 100? 10. So we're going to divide top and bottom by 10. 70 divided by 10 is 7, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. So we can't reduce that fraction any more than that. And then the last thing we're going to do is let's simplify what's v cubed divided by v. That would just be v squared. So this is the excluded value would be before I simplify it would be when v equals 0. This is what's simplified. Okay, let's try another one. How about if I had p squared minus 3p minus 10 divided by or over p squared plus p minus 2. Okay, on something like the one above, it was pretty clear, like if we put 0 in, 100 times 0 would be 0. This is not very clear. So what we're going to do before we figure out the excluded values, or to figure them out, is we're going to factor both the numerator and the denominator. The ones that I give you are pretty basic in the sense that they are trinomials, so we can look at this last term and we're looking for things that multiply to be negative 10, but when you add the outers and inners you get negative 3. What do you think? Flip it around. Good, yeah, so p minus 5, p plus 2. Okay, on the denominator, we are looking for our lasts to multiply to be negative 2, and the outers and inners add up to 1. Very nice, thank you. P plus 2, P minus 1. Okay, in a minute we're going to cancel some things out and simplify, but before we do that, let's state the excluded values. Would you look in the denominator, please? The excluded values would be, what would you put in for P that would make each factor 0? So in this case, if I would put -2 in for P, wouldn't that make that first parenthesis 0? So -2 would have to be excluded. And if I put 1 into the second parentheses, that would also make the bottom 0. Notice I am not finding the zeros of the top. Those are not excluded because it's only when we divide by 0 that the function's undefined. Okay, so those are the excluded things. Next, would you go ahead and cancel any factors on top and bottom? What cancels? The P plus 2. So what we're left with then is what I would say is my simplified expression. So my simplified expression is P minus 5 over P minus 1 would be the simplified expression. Okay, then let's do one last one. So let's do 2x to the second plus 12x over 3x squared plus 18x. Okay, so this is a different kind of factoring, so I wanted to do one like this with you as well, just to review this kind. This is not where we have FOIL. This is where we take or pull out a common factor, okay, or a greatest common factor. So looking at the top, I have a 2x squared and a 12x. What is the greatest common factor of those things? We need a 2 and also an x, okay? So we're going to take a 2x and we pull it out to the front, and then we divide each of those things by 2x. So 2x squared divided by 2x would just be x, and 12x divided by 2x is 6, and there's a plus sign there. So the top would simplify to 2x times x plus 6. All right, what's the GCF on the denominator of 3x squared and 18x? 3x. Same deal, we're going to divide both things by 3x. That leaves me with x plus a 6 again. Okay, so now we have something that's going to let us figure out the excluded values and how to simplify it. There are two values that would make the denominator 0. Can somebody give me one of them? Okay, one of them's -6. Good. Yeah, so -6 plus 6 would make this fraction or this parentheses 0. But also I would have to just do 0, because if I had 0 in there, I'd have a 3 times 0 here, which would give me a 0 in front. So the excluded values are -6 and 0. All right, let's see. What are some things now that cancel so I can simplify? The x plus 6's cancel, and also the x's cancel. So the simplified rational expression to this one, I'll write it down here, would just be 2 over 3. Okay. All right, so that's where we're going to stop today. Then when we